Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to introduce you to Audrey. If you have not met her before, I'm Stacy Toth. Audrey Vargas is, I like to call her my SD bestie, an esthetician before she became a clean skincare guru and now serving that role in multiple ways. Um, do you want to say anything before we jump in? I'm going to share my screen. You get us started.
Hi, I'm thrilled to talk about all of these things. Stacy was going through some questions already that were coming in, so we're going to try our best to address all the things, but really overall the emphasis of having a routine. It doesn't have to be fancy, but you do want to take care of our
I
skin.
I cannot see the screen that is being shared. Hold on one second.
I can see it, but I think I also logged in as a guest, so maybe I have a special.
Hold on. Let's see.
And if you don't know me, I'm in San Francisco. I'm in the Bay Area. I owned a spa for 11 years. I've been in the beauty industry for 19 years now, in lots of different capacities. I am a licensed esthetician, but I ran a training center. I speak at aesthetic schools. I started out because I was a product junkie, truly. That was something where I thought if I could sell anything, be somewhere in the business of a certain industry, what would it be? And it dawned on me, I live in San Francisco. I can do that on a corporate level in a beauty field. I've worn lots of different hats over the years.
Um, it never ceases to amaze me, your list of accolades. So the chat is open for those of you that are here live. We're also getting questions in the question box, which is perfect. Cindy, thank you for putting them there. If we don't address them as we're running through this training, we will answer them in the Q&A at the end. So, but we want to be respectful of people who have limited time or who are watching this back as a replay. So we're going to jump in. Here is what you can expect to learn from us today. And I'm Stacy Toth. I have been in the non-toxic living and wellness space for over 15 years, best-selling author, podcaster, and I love to talk about nerdy stuff like science and regulation. And Audrey brings the fun. We're the yin and the yang.
I like to try to break down what we're talking about when it comes to skincare into layman's terms. So like Stacy's slides are so info packed and I'm like, wash your face. It is good for your skin. Your skin will be happy. So
So
we'll translate. I'll translate what Stacy says.
we'll balance out there. So to Audrey's point, one of the things that I always like to start with when we're talking about what skincare to use and why is to help you understand the science behind your skin a little bit. So I want everyone to think of your skin like bricks and mortar, and the keratin of your skin is like the brick, and that's the protein. So oftentimes you hear about peptides in skincare, that's a protein. And the mortar of your skin as lipids. So those are things like facial oil that you might be adding. And skincare will often have both water soluble and oil based formulas, or sometimes both. And there's a reason for that. And so I wanted to make sure everybody kind of understood that basicness, and also to understand that that top layer is acidic for a reason, that it has a pH of about like 5. And when we start messing with things like cleansing our skin or using an acid on our skin, then we could potentially be changing the pH and thus the microbiome of our skin and all those different kinds of things. And that's where you get this bio-individual result of what your skin might need, what works for some people and not for others, and all that stuff. So this is my light version of science, but I wanted to make sure that we all kind of had a basic understanding of why this is really important. All right, Audrey.
Okay. So we have a few basic steps when it comes to skincare. However, there are a million skincare items on the market. And depending on what commercial you listen to, what store you walk into, people are going to give you, oh, you got to have this. You got to have this ingredient. You got to have, retinol, ceramides, vitamin C, da, da, da. But to really protect our skin, the most potent thing, the most important thing that there is not a person that I've ever come in contact with that I was like, actually, you shouldn't use this product. You should use something else. Every single person I've ever come in contact to with skin, this is the number one most important skincare item for both their skin health and for beauty, for aesthetic purposes. And it's okay. We can be vain here. We can talk about hoping that I lessen the wrinkles that I have, or wishing that my jowls weren't as saggy as they are now in my 40s as in their 20s. The best thing you can do, oh, people are guessing. I like it. I like it. Next slide. Cindy Glass, you got it. Is sunscreen. And sunscreen has come such a far way. If you are like me and were like alive in the 80s and 90s, no, we didn't want sunscreen. We wanted to be tan, but also there were not very aesthetically pleasing sunscreens on the market, especially for our face. It was thick, it was goopy, it didn't layer well with makeup. It wasn't in makeup, it wasn't a common thing. This is an image that, and now there's no excuse. Sunscreen doesn't break you out. Sunscreen lays, it feels like makeup, feels beautiful. There's so many options for all skin types. But this is an image that has stuck with me for 15 years. I was in a SkinCeuticals training in one of my spas, and they were doing this. And I was like in my 20s, breakout prone skin, had no idea what I was doing, why I was breaking out all the time, didn't even realize it was hormonal. It was just like, I just have breakout prone skin. And they showed this image of, this is a truck driver, and the left side of his face, he didn't get sunburned every day of his life. His window was up. His windows were probably tinted. He had the AC blasting, but that amount of UVA rays that was getting through his window over 30 years, 40 years, look at the difference from the left side that's constantly on the window side versus the right side that was not. What a difference in the aging of his skin. And so this is to emphasize the importance of daily use of sunscreen, not just when we go out in the sun, right? He wasn't like going to sleep on the beach on his right side and letting his left side get cooked. That was just from daily exposure from driving. And so I sit next to a window all day in my home office. I'm driving all the time. The left side of our body is getting so much exposure, but it's not to protect against sunburn. The UVB rays, yes, we don't want to burn, but the UVA rays are hitting us in little micro doses all of the time. And it doesn't matter how strong our magic potions are at nighttime that we're doing to correct things, that big ball of fire is stronger than everything. And so if we're not protecting it on a daily basis, the other things are drops in the bucket. Okay, so find a sunscreen that you love and start working it into your routine.
I love Cindy just said, and now we have blue light affecting us as well. So that's another thing that really affects aging. And, when you look at the picture of the truck driver, it's extreme. Obviously, it's extreme. But we can actually measure our skin's aging process through objective ways when it comes to the depth of our wrinkles or the darkness of the pigmentation of an age spot, pore size, all these kinds of things. And one of the things that Shackley does that I personally love as a nerd, I like data, I like proof, I like science. I just don't want someone to have a user study and say, yeah, that felt great. I want to see results. And so I love that when we're talking about anti-aging solutions, because yes, we want prevention to prevent the aging, but those of us who lived through the 80s and 90s have some backwards time to work on for that aging, and we need some anti-aging solutions to do that, or age defense, or however we want to refer to that. And using something that has been clinically proven, objectively measurable, is really important. So as Audrey said, we want to both prevent and protect our skin, but we also want to use treatments that defend and reverse signs of aging or address prior cell damage, both internal and external. We're going to talk about both without hopefully it being too overwhelming. Okay, so now that we've laid down the groundwork, Audrey, what's the first step someone needs to do in their skincare routine?
It's washing, and it's so boring, and so many people want to skip it. I was kind of thinking about this morning of like, what? I mean, obviously we got to wash our face. That's so basic. But I think that there's different kind of schools of thoughts and different emphasis on this. And I think most likely, I'm stereotyping here, but the people that are the most obsessed with washing their face or don't think twice about it and do it right, no matter what, morning and night, are probably those of us that started at an earlier age because we had pimples, right? And I think that's when you're growing up, when you start thinking about taking care of your skin, if your skin's fine all the time, why if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? You can get away with splashing it in the shower, maybe using some body soap or whatever. But when you start going through puberty and having breakout prone skin, that can be a time where you're like, Mom, what do I use? Proactive, got it. Okay. Like, you start using something. And so you learn how to wash your face and you're making a mess at the sink and getting water everywhere, but you're learning how to do that habit. If you didn't have that in the time where you were in high school, let's say, you didn't have a mom there to teach you. And so then it's like you were on your own. And if you thank lucky people who didn't have breakout prone skin to have to address this, there's not like a natural next step, right? Maybe you go to a spa, someone teaches you, but a lot of us miss that learning step or introduction step. And so then you don't prioritize it, right? Maybe you use a makeup wipe or a toner, or you just splash your face with water. But all face washes are not created equal. You see powders, gels, creams, scrubs, foams, and actually some of our favorite oil. There's cleansing oil too out there. There's different ways to take off the day. And it's not just makeup users, because a lot of boys are like, well, all right, makeup. There is so much in our air. We all know that. There's so much floating around in our air. Even when we sleep, we're drooling, our cells are sloughing, our hair oil's on our pillow, it gets on our face. So having that habit of washing your face morning and night is so critical because it preps you up for the rest of this, not only to keep your skin looking and feeling its best, it's helping to reset the pH, it's getting it moist so that it can absorb the next steps of the products. It's that fresh palette, as opposed to starting a painting and there's a little bit of grime there and it's gonna affect it. Things aren't gonna absorb into the canvas as well. This is your fresh palette. And maybe you need something super light, maybe you need something heavy. You can talk to whether it's an ambassador or professional to figure out what face wash is right for you, because a lot of people are using face washes, going back to what Stacy talked about, the brick and the mortar and the acid and the pH. If we're using something too strong, that's going to set our skin up to be irritated for the rest of the day, or to never kind of get on top of that calming situation. So a lot of people are using stuff that's too strong, or maybe not strong enough, maybe not enough exfoliation. The right recipe is different for us all. That's why there's so many options out there, but it can be overwhelming on how do you decide. I like to tell people, start with simple. Start with something simple, not super strong ingredients. Don't reach for that glycolic acid daily. Look for something that's like a cream or an oil. The Shaklee cream oil gel is a really gentle one that's you're still getting some nice benefits from, but something that's a little bit seems almost boring, something super basic, and work your way up from there. But really try to get in that habit of morning and night. And if you feel like it's too much, we do have somebody I know on our team that I give flack to all the time for only washing her face once a day, but she's in Denver and she's like, my skin is too dry, blah, blah, blah. At least get it wet in the morning to kind of rinse off what's happened at night and to give your skin that kind of moist start to be able to absorb your next steps.
You're gonna guffaw when I tell you I do not wash my face in the morning. But I have sensitive rosacea prone skin, and people who have very dry skin or sensitive skin, you need to learn your skin to figure out if this is right for you. But I always make sure that I wash my face thoroughly at night, and I make sure that I'm using a clean pillowcase. If either of those things are not happening, and I use like a skin pro skin material on my pillowcase, I have like a silk pillowcase, which is also antimicrobial. But I do exactly what Audrey says, which is I rinse my face with water and I use an exfoliating microfiber cloth, because I find that sensitivity of my skin leads to kind of flaking of dead skin into my pores, which can cause, breakouts, and it can cause textured in the skin, and you might think, oh, I have dry skin, so therefore, I need to I don't know. A lot of people think that like their breakouts can't be from dry skin and that it must be oily, and therefore they stay away from oils when in fact that is what your skin needs. And that's why I put a photo here of like that dry earth kind of pulling apart to show you that that is allowing bacteria and dry skin and all kinds of things into your skin that can cause problems. So making sure that you're using like that microfiber cloth and water, even if you're not washing it day and night, to clear it out. You don't hate
Yes.
me, right, Audrey?
I do not hate you. And I know I mean, you're kind of a neurotic person in a good way. I know you're taking care of your skin. You're not doing out of like, why do I need to do anything and just slapping lotion on top of
Yep.
it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of what we really need to listen to our skin, but we do need to have a routine for our skin that works for us. And one of the things, the other thing that I know people often skip, so they'll often skip washing their face usually at night, and that's the worst. Like you have to wash your skin at night because
You,
that's when it's
I don't care if you're tired, get up.
yes,
You
all the
have to do it.
pollution,
Get
all the
up.
stuff is on there. Yes, and then you're just smushing it into your pores, and you have cell turnover while you're sleeping, and so it's like absorbing all those toxins if you don't wash before you sleep. But the other thing that people don't
Wait,
do,
wait. Let me
yeah,
emphasize. So there's a famous saying by the women that founded Benefit Cosmetics, which is not a clean line. I'm not endorsing Benefit, but they're really snazzy. And it's two twin sisters and they had got into my head in my 20s and is what made me be religious about it. Every day you don't wash your face, you're aging your skin 1 day faster. So instead of getting 1 day older, your skin's getting 2 days older because it's not just the makeup, especially makeup, but all of that stuff. Even it's not just about breakouts. It's the oxidants, it's the free radicals that's sitting there marinating, aging your skin faster. So you're doubling your life's like look. That's like, oh my gosh, okay, I got to do it for all of the reasons.
yeah.
Wash me.
Okay, so the other thing that I often hear from people is that they're not using a prep step. And you heard Audrey say earlier that you need to wet your face so that it can be prepared and ready to absorb the serums that you're putting on. But really, beyond just wetting it, you need a prep step to prepare. That is literally what we're doing, preparing our skin for the treatment and the protect steps that we're going to talk about shortly. So we're rebalancing the pH of the cleanser that we just used, and we're also giving it some skin nutrients that it really needs to prepare. The analogy that I like to use for a prep step is I want people to think about their skin like a sponge. And if you put, a cleanser or lotion on top of a dry sponge, it just sits there. But if the sponge has been wet and squeezed out, and then you put the lotion into the sponge, it like melts into the sponge. So you need to be prepping your skin, wetting and squeezing the sponge to prepare it for the products that you're going to put on afterwards. Otherwise, you're just literally wasting money with your treatment steps because you are not doing the step that's allowing your skin to properly absorb it.
Totally, totally. And you're probably thinking, well, it's not just sitting there, it's going somewhere. It will absorb, but it's going to absorb so much deeper, hit all those different layers of the brick and mortar that Stacy showed us when it's prepped. Otherwise, it's just much more surface level. And our skin is constantly evolving, right? Sloughing off, growing from the bottom. We want those bottom cells to be healthy when they emerge. All right, treatment, baby. This is the most exciting one. So this is something that being in the industry, people are like, I use a serum. And I'm like, but what? That's like saying like, I don't know, I have a drink. Well, what? Coffee, wine, tea, orange juice. Like not all serums are created equal. And so these are just a few examples on the left-hand side of the screen of different active ingredients. This is your active step, your corrective step. Most skincare you think of, it's either protective or corrective. It's doing something to protect me, slowing down the signs of time, age management, or it's corrective, which is helping to fix a problem. Okay. So if we want to brighten our skin, and I have a couple age spots that I'm concerned about and want to slow down, I want to use sunscreen because that fixes everything or that prevents everything, right? But vitamin C would be a great one to use because that's going to really help to address, slow that melanin change, protect my skin from causing from free radicals causing cellular damage. And so think of this as we have if we're taking vitamins, most of us probably take a multivitamin at this point, right? Especially if we were in January, we probably take some multivitamins. A multivitamin hits a whole bunch of different categories. But my aunt, she just broke a leg. So she needs some extra calcium. So she's getting some calcium in her multivitamin, but she's also reaching for an extra calcium supplement. Or maybe certain times of year, we know, oh my gosh, the cold and flu season is here. I'm going to take my normal multivitamin that covers all of these things, but also something to help my immunity, maybe some vitamin C. That's your treatment. That's your serum, is targeting a specific concern. So for some people, it might be that their skin is dry as heck. I'm a water polo coach. I have lots of people that are like, oh my God, my skin is so tight, it's so dry. And I'm like, slather that hyaluronic acid on before you put on your moisturizer. Then it's going to suck that moisturizer deeper. Some of us have fine lines. So that's going to be something like niacinamide, like retinol to help to kind of firm up those areas, peptides to help to firm that up. So we don't just think of like, well, I use a serum at night. Well, what's that serum doing? Very often we're glamored by the new bells and whistles, and we reach for a serum without really realizing, is this doing what I want it to do? We're grabbing it with the wrong expectations. So think about, what are my concerns? And maybe there's two things. I mean, I'm a breakout prone, almost perimenopausal woman that grew up in the sunshine. I need all those. I want all of those things, right? I want to keep my skin hydrated. I want to help to protect it. So you can use certain treatments in the morning, certain treatments at night. I suggest to people, start with one or two. We don't need to reach for every single thing, says the person with every single thing in her medicine cabinet. But it's taken me a long time to build that up, because I also want to see the results of something. So if I start a new vitamin C today, I like to start on that new vitamin C, use that for a week or two, make sure my skin's accepting it well, so I can really be like, oh, I love this. I love this. Or if it has a good reaction, great. I know I love it. But let's say I start on 3 things and my skin's a little irritated. One, it could be irritated because I have all these actives, but it could be one ingredient in one product. And oftentimes people will think, oh, it's too much for me, I can't use serums. Well, that's not the case, So, but they're all intended to be active. They're stronger than the ingredients in some other things. You might see a daily face lotion or an oil. A lot of people like to advertise oils as brightening, vitamin C oils. The oil's purpose is to give hydration to dry skin, and it also has a little bit of vitamin C, but it's not to replace a serum. You really want that active serum step to be addressing what you need. These are some that we love. So
I was going to say, one of the things that I want to make sure we address is when someone is using more than one. Okay, so let's walk through. If I have a hyaluronic serum and I have the new vitamin C, Super C serum, and I have the CNE pods, what would you recommend? Because that's hydrating for dryness with the hyaluronic acid, and then we've got the brightening of the pods and the C serum, but the pods are 20% and the serum is 10% with niacinamide added.
This is my type of logic puzzle right here. All right. So hyaluronic acid is really good for most people, but it's kind of easy to mess up because hyaluronic acid, it's like a carrier. It carries, it's like, I don't know, 10,000 times its weight in water deeper into the skin, but it's got to carry something. If you put it on in the wrong area, it pulls moisture from the skin. And so hyaluronic acid would be what you want to put on first, and then put your vitamin C, and then put your moisturizer. Okay, moisturizer is always the last step. That's kind of locking in all that goodness. Now, when we're talking about these two, which this is a very common question right now, right? Because we just launched this new beautiful vitamin C serum that we're all excited about. And people are like, wait a second, what about the pods? You guys love the pods. When do I use the pods? I would say use the pump in the morning. Couple reasons. One, I think you're more apt to use it consistently if it's that bottle, pump, 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 right? As opposed to the pods where it's kind of a step, and most of us are a little bit more rushed in the morning than in the evening. Use the pump in the morning. Also, because of that bright orange color, it really does give a little bit of that instant brightening effect. I think it's such a beautiful sensorial experience in the morning to have that smell and the color and the feeling. You're more apt to use it consistently in the morning. And if you have to choose between morning and evening, vitamin C 1000% needs to be in the morning. Now, I am choosing to alternate my pods and like I'm going to use the pods like probably twice a week in the morning instead of the pump, because you don't need that much vitamin C compiled. It's not doing like more work by putting those together, but they are different formulas. So the pods have 20% vitamin C and vitamin E and a raspberry extract. So it's different ingredients. It's a little more active, it's a little more spicy to the touch. So some people will prefer the pump purely because it's a little bit more gentle. But I think of that as like a little bit more of my slightly stronger treatment step in a different way. But you also could use the pods at night. Because it is a little bit more active, if you get any pinkening up, a lot of people don't want to have that during the day. And at night, who cares? We're going to bed, right? Who cares if my skin's a little bit flushed at night? So kind of see what works best for you. But for sure, hyaluronic acid before. With the pods too, I love to mix the pods with something. And I'll use that hyaluronic acid serum and then put my pod in and cocktail it and then apply it, and that makes for a gentler entry on the skin with in case you do get a little bit of that pinkiness from the pods. That could be an option too. And I feel like that was a really weak end to that screen. That could be an option too, question mark. But hyaluronic acid first. And I know that there's a lot of questions about what about this? What about this? Rule of thumb, if you're not quite sure, go thinnest to thickest when you're applying your serum. So if something's a little bit more watery and then something's a little bit more creamy, put the creamy one afterwards, like the wands, for instance. Those are very, very liquidy, right? So you want to put the wands on first and then put the vitamin C serum, for instance. So thinnest to thickest is a rule of thumb with that product application. And then protect. So protect is our moisturizer, but also sunscreen. Okay, it's a two-step. So moisturizer, I think we all know we should be using a moisturizer. The amount of people that skip it because they're like, my skin's oily, or I break out, or I'm already using so much on your skin. You're taking away like one of our base, like bones of our skincare needs. We don't only want to reach for moisturizer when our skin is dry or we feel like we need it. That's like saying we only need to drink water when we're really thirsty. Like we should drink we've all heard drink however many ounces of water a day, right? I am not thirsty by that last glass of water, but I know that it's keeping my body functioning. And so when we're thinking of these 4 steps, the treatment step, although the most fun, is actually the least critical in a way. I want to make sure cleanse, tone, and moisturize, because if you are doing those steps religiously, you're keeping your skin at optimal, at basic healthy status, right? We're not correcting yet. We're not doing anything really, really impressive, but that's where you're keeping your skin just happy. Think of it as like walking, drinking water, eating nutritious foods, right? That's what we should be doing, those things. But if I have a sore back, maybe I'm going to add some yoga or some exercises to strengthen my lower back muscles because my back is sore. That would be our treatment step, right? Treating a specific concern. But if something is feeling off, I can oftentimes be like, well, yeah, I've been in the car for a week straight. I haven't been walking, right? That's my moisturizer, or that's my whatever, my cleansing, or I haven't been drinking enough water. Oh, that's why I'm feeling so tired and so sluggish. I haven't been drinking enough water. We will feel it in our skin. We might not attribute it to that, but you have to have that moisturizer. Otherwise, I've heard this a million times. You probably have too. When you look at your skin cells, they're going to look like raisins. When we're dehydrated, we're not using a moisturizer regularly. We want those cells to look like juicy grapes. We want them plump, because if our skin's looking like juicy grapes, it's going to be firmer. It's going to be bouncier. But
It's the
That
glazed donut step, the protect step.
it's the glazed donut step. It's the protect, and it's keeping that brick and mortar status firm on the outside and with consistent use firm on the bottom too, right? Because we want those cells are constantly generating. So moisturizer, it might be there's a million moisturizers out there: thin, thick, rich, oil heavy, water heavy. So think about a lot. Everybody thinks their skin's dehydrated. Most of our skin probably is potentially dehydrated, but you're focusing on water or oil, and we need both to have happy skin. Some people that focus on oil, their skin's going to end up dehydrated. They're real luminous on the outside, but they're not getting that hydration deep down underneath. So think about a lot of people are like, I use this moisturizer every day and my skin is not happy. I'm like, well, I see flakes. Like, this is a ceramide cream, or this is a cream it's high in hyaluronic acid, but you don't have enough oils. So I love to find the moisturizer that you like. And then my favorite thing, rather than stepping up to a richer moisturizer, if you feel like you need a little bit more, is getting an oil, because then you can really customize daily how much you're getting. And I love taking a scoop of my moisturizer, a drop or 2 drops of the oil, cocktailing that in there for when I need a richer moisturizer. So times that we might change, certain times of the month, our skin can go from drier to oilier. Traveling inherently dehydrates our skin just by flying. But then if you're going to a tropical location, all of a sudden you're hit with humidity. There's a lot of changes for our skin to try to balance out to. Times of the year when it gets colder, we often get more dried out because we're going from extreme, like inside where there's fires burning or heaters, and then outside where it's cold. Our skin is constantly trying to balance out. So rather than changing your lotion each time, if you have some customizing you can do with that oil, that can really be helpful. And a regimen. Okay, so this looks maybe intense. This is covering our 4 steps, right? So cleanse. And this is not all of I feel like there can be even more combinations than this, but this is an example, right? The Luminous Gel Oil Cleanser. This is a cleanser that I think would be great for probably 95% of skin types. It has the slightest bit of exfoliation, but it's not gritty. It's a really gentle way to kind of slough off, get some cellular turnover, really nourishing with that oil base, but a satisfying clean because of the gel form. The toner, this is a toner that's very versatile. If you love the step of splashing it, you can splash it, but it's real liquid, it's real watery. So I've gotten back into using the cotton swab. The treatment step, we talked about this. This is probably where you're going to want to dial it in. Talk to the person that invited you to figure out what the right treatment step is for you. For me personally, this is pretty much what I use. Actually, I use the wands both morning and night religiously, you guys, religiously, because peptides, you constantly need that reminder to get those peptides going, shooting, go, go, go. We want to keep stimulating that. And it's thin, like it won't break you out. It's not going to feel heavy. It doesn't add, a lot of times adding a layer feels like too much. It doesn't add a layer. It just absorbs right in. So you do those wands first, and then in the morning, I'm using the Super Boost vitamin C. At nighttime, the activating serum or the CE Radiance Pods. I wouldn't use those on the same night for sure. No, I would alternate those. That's going to be a little bit too much. The activating serum is a retinol based serum. It has some other of the Shaklee youth kind of magic potions in there that's very anti-aging and age management. I would say active age management. I want to note the science behind retinol has changed, and even Environmental Working Group is changing their rating system for retinol right now. So many clean stores, which this is all news to me. As of a year ago, I was like, okay, retinol is really good for the skin, but I'm only going to say it privately, one-on-one, because I need to make sure that you're using your sunscreen and you're wearing a hat and you're not using it when you go to Hawaii. But there's more studies on it because it's such a popular and such an effective ingredient. And so now when you look on an EWG, you will get ratings from 1 to 9. There's still garbage retinols out there that I'm not going to recommend. And I really have strong feelings about not just grabbing at the drugstore because it's a high enough dose to make you more sensitized to the sun, but you're not getting any instructions. You're not having any professionals helping guide you to make sure you're using it safely. And it's not really enough to actually be doing the aesthetic things that we want. But anyways, I say that because I do want people to know there is retinol in the activating serum, but retinol is getting safer, or our awareness and science behind it is learning. And then moisturizer. So many different ways to moisturize, you guys, but the Moisture Lock Day Cream, I think, is the best way to start. It's light, but it kind of has like an airy texture. It absorbs really nice. It's not going to make your makeup slip off. And then I always pair it with the BB cream or the Age Mineral SPF. One is clear, one has a little bit of tint to it. Now, some people might come at me for this. I am big on not a 2-in-1. I don't want my BB cream to be my only moisturizer. And there's a lot of marketing out there on moisturizer and sunscreen in one, where I compare it to Pert Plus. You know, the shampoo and conditioner in one. None of us have had, like, that's my favorite product out there for hair, because shampoo and conditioner need to do very different things. Shampoo needs to rinse and get all the dirt and wash away. Conditioner needs to actually deposit things onto our hair to make it silky and stay. So you put all that in those ingredients in one little bottle. That is not the best shampoo experience nor the best conditioner experience. When we think about moisturizer and sunscreen, similar. They need to go different places. Moisturizer needs to go deep, needs to nourish our cells, turn those raisins into grapes, deep, penetrate. Sunscreen needs to sit on the surface and protect. That is our armor. That's our shield. And so when you put it into one bottle, you're going to sacrifice on the hydration level big time, or sacrifice on the sunscreen protection factor, which comes into play when you're looking at chemical sunscreens that do absorb into your skin. You're not going to be getting the best sun protection. So there's a very small group of people that might be your moisturizer step. It might be enough for you, but most of us want a little bit better hydrating mechanism, and then have that really solid physical sunscreen protection step. And then nighttime, we have both a rich and a light version of our night cream. Those are going to be typically richer, a little bit more nutrient dense moisturizers than daytime moisturizers, because nighttime's when our whole body's rejuvenating. That's when we're repairing. That's why when we're sick, we need to rest, we need to sleep, because that's when our body goes into repair mode. Our skin is part of that functioning too. So we want to give it the tools to repair itself better and regenerate while we're sleeping.
And just to kind of share, because I know Audrey said what she does. For me, I have more reactive sensitive skin. I use the Super C serum just by itself in the morning. It has enough for me. I don't need to use the hyaluronic acid serum beforehand because I don't have super dry skin, and there is hyaluronic acid in the Super C serum. But at night, I'm using the moisturizing serum and I'm using the wands first and then the moisturizing serum. And then twice a week, I'm using the pods at night. So just, it really is dependent. You've heard like Audrey and I are doing different things. I'm also a big fan of the oil. I saw some people in the chat. I use the light night cream, and then I add more than 2 drops. For me, it's 3 to 5 drops. I love to just like really get thick when I'm going to bed at night to allow everything to have that optimization of cellular turnover. So it's so dependent on your skin, and the person who invited you can ask you some questions and help build a custom routine for you. Okay, we are over time. I'm not surprised. I let Audrey talk because she's saying amazing things. But a couple of the things that we've mentioned that, are outside kind of a normal regimen, I want to highlight for y'all. The BB cream is incredible and it has SPF in it. A lot of us do use the SPF kind of as a moisturizer with the Rose Pomifera facial oil added is my cocktail. Audrey doesn't like that, but I'm going to tell you I do it. So if you do it, don't feel bad. She might smack your wrist.
More because of the oil. You're getting more hydration because of the oil.
Yes. And we have the wands, which we haven't focused on today, but I did mention earlier, they are amazing. And Audrey said that she's seen some comparable products in the stores that are like nowhere near as complex or as clean and are more expensive. You're shaking your head,
I
yeah?
have, well, because I want to tell a story, but it's too long. But let's just say one,
Okay.
like a $150 product that is sold to like, has all this accolades, has two peptides in it, two. And then one that's a step up that's more has three peptides. We have 8 and 7 in here. So just the peptides alone, I'm like, oh my God. And the price point, it is such a phenomenal buy. And yeah, they're not as clean, they're not as safe. It's wild
Yes.
how great
So
these
the
are. And I don't think there's anything that competes with us like potency wise on the market, but you've got to keep using them. I think a lot of people, the expectations get really high because they hear instant and they're like, well, it doesn't look like I had a facelift, so it must not work. It's working. It's on a microscopic level. Keep going. Keep going.
Yes, it took us decades for our skin to age. It's going to take a little while to do some backwards process. So I'm not going to go into details, but I do want to say that you can't just only address your skincare from the outside in. I know Audrey is a big proponent of this as well. The vitamin A, the vitamin C, the vitamin E, and D that you consume inside your body all play a role in what is showing in the outside of your body, which is why vitamin A is retinol, vitamin C serum that we're talking about, and vitamin E that's in the C and E pods has actually been shown in clinical studies to reverse symptoms of dry skin conditions like eczema and psoriasis and different kinds of things, both topically and internally. So we want to make sure that we are addressing both from the inside and out, which is why we love our vitamins at Shockley. We love our Life Shake at Shockley. We love our Vivix, which is also, we have, I think we need to do like honestly a whole seminar on just Vivix because it's so crazy. The science on that and how it reverses cellular aging and really provides a radiant glow and all these kinds of things. So if you are really interested in, making some health changes and wanting better skin results, these things, both internal and external, are going to have a big effect for you. And then the last thing that I'll mention is collagen. I think all of us have probably heard of collagen before, but what you might not know is that most collagens don't have all 9 essential amino acids. And we need that ninth to properly absorb. And we also need vitamin C sufficiently in our body in order to properly synthesize the collagen. So, collagen 9 that Shockley offers has vitamin C added, has biotin, and has that ninth amino acid from pea protein. So, it is doing amazing things for your skin, hair, and nails. And there's a lot of clinical information on that when we're looking at quality collagen. The one thing that I would say is, having done a lot of research on it, there are a lot of products out there that are using heavy chemical process to break down. I mean, if you think about it, this is coming from animal bones, and they're using heavy chemicals to get the bones to break down instead of having a patient longer process for heat or for different kinds of ways that you can do it. And Shockley is using the safer way to process these bones, and those chemicals would not show in your ingredients. Those are just like how they're getting it to break down, and then they're still calling it just the bone. And so we also see that when they are tested as all of Shockley's products, including their skincare, their vitamins, their collagen, their proteins, are tested for safety to ensure that they're not contaminated with harsh chemicals or toxins that are often found in these sort of products, like a Prop 65 warning or different kinds of things like that. You're not going to find with Shockley. So, if you're feeling like, wow, I learned a lot today and I'm excited about one or more of the products that Audrey and Stacy mentioned, we want you to reach out to the person who invited you so that you can get their referral link for all of the deals. And I'm running through this. I know it has Audrey's picture up here, but I'm afraid Audrey's going to keep talking. So I want to let you know that our team exclusively can give you a free mascara through the 18th. If you are interested, talk to the person who invited you to help build a cart to qualify you for the free mascara. And you can add a Life Shake, which will help you get those nutrient sufficient things that I was talking about for only $20. So you can get two gifts And if you decide to get a regimen, there is a brand new age defying glow regimen with the new C serum in it. There's also the personalized regimen, which I love, that you can choose the serum that you want in that. And either of those will qualify you for the Restoring Eye Treatment, which is free gift with those regimens. So you could get up to 3 gifts if you talk to the person who invited you and get a card to qualify through the 18th. The Life Shake and Eye Treatment are through the end of the month. You can also, if you're already a member, refer somebody else so that you get $10 credit. You can get free membership with an order over $50. And if you're in the US, that gets you 15% site wide. If you're in Canada, that's already built into the pricing that you're seeing. And that gets you free shipping over $150. I know I've talked, that's a lot of things to process. But the last thing that I want to say is if you're super excited about all of this and you like learning and you're like, wow, I could see inviting my mom, my sister, my friend to something like this so that they could learn and let Stacy and Audrey and different team members help educate them. I don't have to be the expert, but I can be excited about these products and share them. Then it sounds like it's worth having a conversation about whether or not being an ambassador is right for you, because all of these offers are relevant for being an ambassador and you get paid on your own purchases. So not only do you get the member discount, but you get paid on your own purchases. So it's a great way to save and share. And we love our mission of getting healthier products into everybody's hands. And we would love to welcome you to our team. Um, Julie's like, I'm still back at the collagen. You moved too fast. The collagen's amazing. I know, I know. Okay, so we had a lot to cover. Audrey was right. We didn't get through it in 30 minutes. I'm always hopeful that I can be less windy, but here we are. So I know I saw a lot of questions coming in. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. If you're watching back the replay and you're happy with the information that you got, feel free to stop, but I'm going to keep recording because oftentimes the Q&A is like the best part of the call and I don't want people to miss out. So Audrey, I'm going to just start hitting you with some questions. Okay. Is that going to work for you? You ready?
I think so.
Okay. When do you suggest about how often to use C+E capsules when it burns your skin when you apply it?
Well, one, I would say mix it with something to see if that burn can lessen, because burn doesn't equal bad. It just, your skin's reactive at that moment and it might lessen over time. But if no matter what the situation is, you're still getting that tingly burning, I would say reduce it to every other day. Every other day is truly enough for vitamin C. My issue with every other day is then it doesn't become consistent. And sometimes you're like, did I use it yesterday? Did I not use it yesterday? And inevitably you use a little bit
The
less.
C&E pods, it's like, honestly, once a week is probably good to start if you're using the C serum every day, which I haven't heard anybody. I have very reactive skin and I haven't had any tingling with it. And I haven't heard that from anybody else. But the C&E pods, like once or twice a week, but you're saying mixing it with something else can reduce the tingle.
Can reduce the tingle. You
The
could
other
use the
thing,
oil, the other the
yeah.
hydrating serum,
The
moisturize.
other thing that I find is that someone might not have properly prepped their skin beforehand. So I get more tingle if I haven't used the Milk Essence toner that I showed. Instead of the prep toner, I don't use that when I do the C&E because my skin needs more hydration before I use that step. So I would ask them like, what are they doing to prep their skin? Because that might be another reason that it's a little extra tingly if there's not enough preparation on the skin.
And if it always does, switch to the new one. Switch to the new serum. You know, of course, you don't want to throw away your pods. Use your pods sparingly, but I would say, yeah, try the new one next time.
The other thing too with the pods is it would be great to use on like your neck and the back of your hands. Like if you're loving the C&E serum, the 20% would be amazing. Like I use them on the back of my hands because that's another place that shows aging and we don't give enough love there. So they're great to use there. Okay, best for eyes when they're looking more sunken in, if that makes sense. I mean, hydration is the best place to start there.
Yeah. So sunken in is going to happen to many of us as we age because our muscles under our face just kind of droop a little bit. And so there are more gaps. That's where fillers were invented, right? It was to fill in the gaps. So a product's not going to really change that because that's literally like bone and muscular structure, but hydration to plump up the surface level skin. Um, and a concealer. Like I'm never going to say jump to concealer without your skincare step because you want that to be hydrated. But the wands are plumping, and that is focusing on fine lines and wrinkles and firmness. It's not focusing on moisture. Like I use the wands eye cream or eye wands, goodness, and an eye cream. Okay, it's not really either or. If you're gonna go either or, I would actually go eye cream because that's like long-term prevention. Remember, moisturizer, that's our bare bones, that's our base of our skincare structure. Um, but the hollowness, I mean, that is, if it's hollow, it's probably looking a little bit darker too with creating shadows. So a little bit of concealer can help kind of brighten that up.
Yeah, and so internal hydration would also help as well. We have electrolytes at Shockley you could try. And then the other thing too is that there is some science that shows a higher fructose intake can actually cause darkening under the eyes. So you might want to look at if there are ways that you can feasibly address that from a dietary perspective. I'm not a nutritionist, but you could work with one. But the science does say that that can cause some darkening. And also, alcohol is the biggest thing for dehydration and causing the under eye circles. So, the first place that I would start from a dietary perspective is pausing alcohol, which I know no one wants to hear. But we do have liquid Vivix, which I mentioned earlier is fantastic for reducing cellular aging and makes a great mocktail. So, that's an option. Okay, Audrey, your opinion on how often to use the Shockley retinol serum if someone wanted to try.
I would start no more than every other night for the first 2 to 4 weeks. Let your skin acclimate. Some people could jump right into retinol and it's totally fine. Some people have sloughing and kind of a little bit of irritation at first. That's probably the most active thing that you're going to put on your skin unless you get into like prescription level stuff. But ours is a very gentle formula. It's a lower percentage. You get some brands that will go really high percentages, which I don't really think is super safe to start off over the counter without having experience with it. So I would say every other night, or maybe a night, take 2 nights off, and then do another night, which then gets tricky on what day did I do it, right? With a 7-day week, but not every night to start. Slowly build that up.
And so we talked about this just a little bit, but how to apply each step. So gently swiping the toner versus patting it in. What would be kind of the differences or the recommendations in doing that?
Just the toner or just applying any
Well, the
product?
question was specific to toner, but I think it's probably worth
Yeah.
discussing on.
So toner is kind of, I get lazy. So I love just throwing it on my face. But if toner also can act as kind of a backup cleansing step. I mean, there's times where you have it on a swab and you're like, ew, it's a little dingy and wash my face as good as I thought. So if you're breakout prone, if you're feeling, there's certain times where I feel like I have a little bit of stuff brewing, I'll go in and kind of be a little bit more aggressive with my toner just to make sure I'm getting a deeper down clean. But I don't like doing that every day because I feel like it's a little bit too much. So it's really preference. What are you going to use most? And we don't have a spray toner, so I don't love to be like, and go seek elsewhere, but some toners are sprays. And so you could also take the Shockley toner because it's total liquid. You could put that in a spray bottle if that's going to help you use it more regularly. Because I think, at least growing up, I always associated toners with astringent. Sea breeze astringent, that it's all alcohol, it makes your nostrils burn when you smell it. I just thought of it as like, frying my face off to get rid of pimples. That is not what a toner is. It doesn't have to be that. It really is to immediately balance the pH to make your skin ready to absorb those products. So it doesn't have to be wiped off. It can just be spritzed on.
And the eye wand versus eye restoring treatment. I love that you just mentioned you would choose the treatment over the wand, which I wouldn't have guessed, but makes sense considering moisturizer before treatment if we have to choose one. But if someone is using both, they want to know morning versus night, or does it matter?
Both morning and night.
Okay.
Our eye skin is the thinnest skin on our face. It is like paper thin, right? This is what some of the first signs of aging that most of us will get because our eyes are so expressive, right? They're moving, we're crying, we got lashes in there, we rub the heck out of our eyes. I know I shouldn't. In the shower, there are times I get that good rub that you just can't stop. Once that damage is there, it is incredibly difficult to correct it with anything, right? It's a lot easier to prevent things than to go back and reverse it. But because this is so paper thin, you want to give it as much tools as we can to stay buoyant, because even people that get Botox, it's real hard to not have some type of wrinkles. We're so expressive in our eyes. So giving that moisturizer morning and night, giving that plumping action morning and night, they are both intended to be used twice a day, because we're doing like stuff's wearing, even our eyes water. So products are kind of getting a little bit watered down around our eyes where they're not necessarily on our cheeks or our forehead. So more, if you can stand it, morning and night.
So just to be clear, it's the eye wand and then the whatever serum they're using. And
Yes, I
then
don't use the serum that close to my eyes. Like I'm not using my vitamin
I'm
C
just
serum.
thinking like
Yeah.
lining it up in order in their bathroom, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're gonna use their wands, they're
Hmm.
gonna use their serum, they're gonna use their eye treatment and then their moisturizer,
Yep.
then their SPF.
Yep.
Okay.
I know this sounds long, you guys, but I promise people do it. People do it.
And honestly, once you like, I physically have mine set up at my vanity in an order, and I cocktail a couple of them. Like Audrey says, it honestly takes me like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you get a habit, it's not as big of a deal as it sounds.
Well, and I think it's really important for you to understand why you're using it, right? It seems like two eye products for my little eyes. That's crazy. But when you understand, well, they're doing different things, that makes sense. It's like nutrition in our food. We can't just eat one. You could have the most healthy carrot in the world, but I can't just eat carrots, right? Like it's like you're getting different nutrients in different forms for a reason. Like it's addressing different
Well,
aspects of.
and the peptides, remember, are addressing the bricks, and the moisturizer, which has oils and waters in it, are addressing the lipids. And so you need both to kind of lock into place and get it better. Okay, so Cindy's asking me about the rose oil and SPF combo. So I cocktail mine together. If someone was using them in separate steps, which order would you say? Oil and then SPF?
Oil first and then SPF. SPF is sitting because SPF, also things aren't going to penetrate through it, right? Because it's a physical barrier. And I know that Stacy cocktails it. She used to do skin too. And I will tell you, the melanoma foundation is not going to approve of us watering down the sunscreen. But if it makes you use it and it makes your skin happy, it's so much better than not. I used to tell people to take their sunscreen and put it in their body lotion. Like I'd be like, use half of your body lotion and then squirt a body sunscreen in there, shake it up. So then you're using body sunscreen daily, because I never apply body sunscreen. But if I have it in my lotion, and people are like, no, the sunscreen's not as effective. I'm like, but it's better than nothing. Like you're still getting some protection. So officially, I shouldn't say yes, but like in usability as a consumer, yes, that's so much better than nothing. You're still getting some protection.
And I will say I'm a very fair person, and the sunblock works for me. If it wasn't blocking, I would know, because I would get a burn really quickly or easily. And so you have to do what works for you. And that's just it's what works for me. Okay, couple more questions, and then we have the ones that were submitted beforehand. So need to move through this. Do you recommend the Pomifera line for teens or the youth line?
I mean, it depends on what their skin concerns are. Um, I think you try it and see. If someone, oftentimes teens, they're getting into skincare because they're breaking out, right? And so with that aspect, I would say pick and choose the pieces. I wouldn't just say, yes, all Pomifera, yes, all youth. I don't do that with any brands. I'm like, what is each thing doing? Um, I would say off the top of my head, like the toner, the youth toner, that would be great. Um, for the cleanser, depends, because the Pomifera cleanser is very creamy. where the youth has a little bit more satisfaction, like a little bit more sudsy. So in my mind, a teen's gonna like use that and probably rinse it off better. Because when you have that real lotiony cleanser, a lot of times people use too much and then it's like sitting on top of the skin. But it's really case by case, depending. If it's just a teenager and they want to have a little skincare routine, yeah, Pomifera is great. If it's addressing a specific concern, think about what the concern is. But I
And I
think
would
like
say too, going back to what you originally said, the youth wash, toner, and then like BB cream as a moisturizer with SPF would honestly probably make most teenagers super happy and would kind of check the boxes on what they needed. Um,
100%. My
so
That's what my daughter uses, and she's 12, but she thinks she's 16. And that BB cream, oh, it scratches that makeup itch. Like she loves it. But she's also having some pimples, and so I have like pimple patches for her to use at nighttime. Or kids wear pimple patches at school now, cute little star ones and stuff. So kind of depends on it. Totally depends on what it is. But sunscreen, getting that sunscreen in. Our kids are going to love us in their 40s because we all made them wear sunscreen in their youth.
yeah. And I love the Pomifera exfoliator for my teens too, and the charcoal mask. I will mention those weren't part of what we covered earlier, but those are products that my teens love. Okay, diving into some of the questions that were submitted earlier. Comparing the clinical proven skincare of Shockley versus some of the medical and clinical skincare that you've used.
Okay, for one, there's no professional grade, spa grade, medical grade products out there. There's prescription and there's basically everything else. Prescription, that's like Retin-A. You need a script from a doctor, right? Now, where it differentiates and why people will claim this is certain brands will only sell to med spas, or some brands will only sell to a licensed esthetician. That is their own company rules because of the image that they want to maintain, not because it is illegal, because we all know there's very little product regulation out there, right? There is not like it's illegal to sell SkinCeuticals at Walgreens just because they don't sell there. So they don't have a contract with Walgreens, let's say, for instance. But there's no formula that's like, oh, you can't, that's medical grade. That's not actually a thing. One of the aspects I was really blown away with was Shockley, because I've been in dozens of product trainings over the years. All of them are exciting. All of them present their bells and whistles in a real cool way. Many of them, any of them in spas are going to have some type of clinical study. But it's usually users said my skin looks younger. Users felt my skin was glowier. The fact that Shockley has created a way to measure, like Stacy said, measuring the depths of the wrinkles, actually analyzing the size of the age spots, the depth, the color. They have a scientific way to measure it. Even some of the fanciest brands out there, you guys, don't do that. They don't do that. They have larger case studies than some that we're familiar with, right? Some people might have 40, and if you're a really big brand, you could have 100. But that blew me away, the level of commitment they went to really study to find out if what they were using, what they were creating was effective to measure it. That's rare. It's incredibly rare. So when Shockley, and I think it's because we came from, we didn't start with skincare. We started with internal, not medicine, supplements. So the way that they measure things and the science behind it had to have, when they decided they were going to be proven, they were going to dang sure stick to their word and back it up with science. So that just translated over to how do we do this for skin? Because it makes sense that you would want to have parameters that you can scientifically study. I don't know if that fully answers the question, but you can't compare any of it apples to apples because it's hard to find a skincare study that has the same documentation that we do. But I will say, Stacy, and I don't know if anybody knows Melissa Brennan, my friend that is a scientist by trade. We're like, whoa, these studies are actual studies, which most skincare does not have.
So to clarify, the company and the brand that we used before, the studies were user studies, not clinical studies, and they were half the size. So, if we're comparing those, like the Shockley stuff blew my mind. But then when I'm looking at products on the market, even the stuff that's being sold in spas and different things like that, if I'm looking for like, okay, where is this study to support the claim that's being made on this product? Most of the time there isn't one. Like most of the time it's based on the fact, well, I used this ingredient and that ingredient has been shown to blah, 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 blah. They haven't actually tested their product in that formulation to see if it's effective. So,
Yes. And a
okay.
lot of brands, they don't make their studies public. Where Shockley, I think it's all like you can find it.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to find that picture from the SkinCeuticals training. I was like, there was all this documentation. It was really hard to find because they want to lock it down because it's professional only. They don't want that to be common knowledge. They give that to the accounts during their training. But it's also like, well, how? Like, you want to be transparent, you want to be able to compare. And if you can't as a consumer, they're also going with less information, right? And you're just trusting a salesperson, which some salespeople are trustworthy, but many just don't know.
Okay. Most important ingredient for dry, thinning, menopausal skin, especially if also there was another question for going through acne breakouts during that period, which you did mention is a thing you're dealing with. I'm dealing with in perimenopause, acne coming back again. Super fun. Love this for us.
Most important single ingredient for dry, thinning, menopausal,
Ingredients doesn't have to be single.
skin that's also breaking out.
Hmm.
Well,
I think it's doing a regimen, right? Like there isn't like one
yeah,
ingredient.
there's not just one. And I mean, Stacy's gonna hit you with internal Vivix, collagen, a rich moisturizer at night, um, the wands, breakout prone. I'm loving the the patches. Rael, Rael. We don't have anything like that at Shockley, but like if it's like a doozy you can feel brewing here or there, boom, put it on. And then you don't have to change your whole routine because when you're dry and thinning, you don't really want to be using an acne wash. You don't want to use stuff that's going to exfoliate and thin because things that are made for breakouts for acne, they're not friendly to our aging thinning skin. You know,
Yeah.
we want nourishment, rich, lots of things that are going to help to keep that buoyancy. Um, so
I actually use an acne oil. It's like they call it a serum, but it's an oil.
yeah.
Um,
It probably has a lang-a-lang. And if you look for oils that have a lang-a-lang, that's really great at oil. That's really great for pimples and
it's
pimple
like
balancing.
cajeput and cumin. It's a bunch of stuff I hadn't seen before. But I will say from the Shockley offerings, if you have the clay mask as a spot treatment,
Mhm.
that can be really helpful if you feel things that are coming up. And to prevent breakouts, I find that if I use that Pomifera exfoliating scrub, which has oils in it and manual exfoliation with the little bits of walnut, like if I before I'm experiencing the breakout, if I know like, okay, I'm gonna be in PMS the next couple of days. So if I exfoliate my skin beforehand, it helps prevent it because then the stuff that's gonna like slough off and get stuck in the skin is removed. So I would say those things help me as well.
That can
Okay,
help.
we've covered everything and it took twice as long as we said it would. So thank you for those of you that are still here with us. I hope that it was super helpful and we're so glad that you were able to join us and enjoyed it well enough to stay. Audrey, thank you so much for making the time and sharing your knowledge and bringing the fun. Anything else you want to add before we go?
I do. And this is like a not skincare related plug, but because we have the free mascara right now, I've loved the mascara since the second day of using it. Because the first day I was like, it's always too thin, day one. But it is incredible. It is buildable. It's the brush. And I have to say, so my day job now, didn't used to be, but my day job now, I manage 20 beauty stores across the Bay Area. That one store is all clean. There's probably 20 brands in there of clean makeup. The other store is clean and not clean. So I have access to approximately, let's say, 50 different brands of mascara. The amount of Shockley mascara that I'm whispering to people when they're looking, I'm helping them find mascara because of the formula, because of the brush. The brush is key, but it is one of the very few that is actually safe, that works. It doesn't smudge, it doesn't get clumpy. And that when I show people, I just have it saved on my phone. And when they're looking, I'm like, but you can't buy it here. Like I'm like whispering, and people will text me like, I love this. I love this mascara. It's incredible. It is so uniquely wonderful, not just for, especially for a clean mascara, but across the board on mascara, you guys. It's the best mascara. And it has, it's not growth factor. It has like peptide. It has conditioning agents in it that help our lashes grow and stay longer and stronger. So most of us, once we've used it for a whole tube, are like, are my lashes longer? Yes, they are. They are. So I can, that mascara, I've always loved it, but now I have more like real world comparison. It is such a magic gem. Like, place an order just to get that because it's incredible.
Agreed. And I feel the same passion about the Life Shake. Like, if there's like one product that I want people to try at Shockley beyond the skincare, it's Life Shake because I feel so energized and nourished from it. And it's going to get you nutrient sufficiency and glowing from the inside out. And both of those are gifts for you this month. So, Angela's asking how you get it. Ask the person who invited you. It is an exclusive gift with our team, and we would be happy to help you create a qualifying order and give you all the details, the codes, all the things. So thank you so much for being here. And we will make sure to follow up with those of you with this replay, and have a great weekend, everybody. Before the mascara deal is over on the 18th, make sure to place your order. Okay.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.